As we get older, it's easier and easier to blame age on pretty much anything, really. I mean, if we're being honest, right? Slower healing times. It's easier to blame, not being able to jump as high or run as fast, not being able to recover as quickly. I mean, all of these different things. It's easy to look at them and blame age. But today we're going to discuss what I have found in my life to be true, and ultimately that's what I use when I look at something. I'm like, hey, I've lost this ability. This is what I do to actually get that back. So I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro, and over the past 15 years, I've been blessed to work with over 5,000 patients. So I have heard a lot of people tell me I'm just getting old, and just getting old is one thing, right? But age it's literally just a number. Yes, there are some things that are associated with aging that do occur, but a lot of the things that we as a society associate with aging have nothing to do with aging, right? We're saying, I'm getting arthritis, doc. It's just normal aging. That's not normal aging. That's not something that we should see. That is a dysfunction that has led us down that path, right? And some of that is weak muscle. Some of that happens, but these are the things that I do. So when we look in general, we have to look at what kind of a problem it is, right? So if we're looking at low energy, as we start to age, we start to decrease some of the energy substrates that we have. NAD plus, for example, is one that once we hit 40 years of age, it starts to decrease every year. Our muscle strength starts to decrease a percentage every year at around 40 as well. And some of this is because of those energy substrates. So what can we do to improve our energy? First of all, looking at our gut, like what are we eating? What are we supplying our food with? Like what are we taking in to actually give ourselves that energy that we need? And a lot of times what we're eating is ultra processed foods and different things like this that start to break down our digestion. They steal that energy from us. They leave us with an inflamed state that leads to some of these other things. So starting with that building block and eating whole foods, eating more fruits, vegetables, meats, pasture, grass, man, I can't talk here all of a sudden. Pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, things like that are even better because we don't have the inflammatory ingredients that are going into a lot of the production of some of these other animals and products. So when we can stick to those whole foods, it gives us a better place to build from. But again, we've got to look at what we're doing physically too. So when we examine what we do throughout the day, most of us sit, right? There's so many of us that sit throughout the day, whether we're a driver of some variety, whether we're working in an office, whether we come home in the evenings and spend a couple hours in a chair, which is not an uncommon thing to do as we get older, right? So we've got to look at some of these things. Now, when we sit in a chair regularly, it tightens up certain muscles and it stretches other muscles. It leaves us weak in certain areas. So if we can work to build that strength back, we can start to roll that in the correct direction. As we start to do that, we don't break down as fast. So it leaves us in that stronger, more stable space. When we have that balance, front to back, left to right, top to bottom, that leaves us in that stable space where we're able to do a lot of the things that we want to do. So when we go to jump, for example, we have that power base that we can actually jump similar to what we were before. Maybe not exactly what we were when we were 20, but we can still do better than what we're doing currently. When we look to go and run, we have that stable base that we're not left in pain. We're not left recovering for 2-3 days later. When we start to do all of these things over again, and that is the biggest thing that I've noticed is we stop doing a lot of the things that we were doing before. When we were 20, we might have been going to the gym 5 times a week. We might have been doing squats and deadlifts and all of these things to keep our muscles strong, to keep our core strong. But over time, we get into these habits where we start doing other things. We start doing things that are quote unquote not as active, right? We're sitting at the desk more frequently. We're sitting in a chair more frequently. We're driving more frequently, whatever that may be. But we lose some of that muscle tone. We lose some of that ability. As we start adding that back in, whether it's practicing doing some box jumps or something like that, that may not be a great fit for you. Talk to your doctor, see if that's something that works for you. But when we add things like that back in, when we start doing a little bit more sprint work, again, may not be a good fit for you. Talk to your doctor, see if that's a good fit for you. But when we start doing some of these things that we were doing when we were younger and we had those abilities that we wanted, a lot of that stuff returns. It's pretty cool, right? So mobility work is a phenomenal thing. Looking at what we're eating, and then a lot of this stuff, if we work on the diet, if we work on the movement, a lot of times this will help with the stress, it will help with the sleep, it will help with some of these other hormonal issues. All of these things start to come together, and we start to regain some of those skills that we had back when we were younger, right? I mean, for lack of better terms, it helps restore some of that vibrancy, some of that youthfulness that we used to have, that we're starting to quote unquote lose. And it's not that we're really losing it, it's just that we haven't used it. So it started to disappear because our bodies and our brains focus on the things that we do on a daily basis, and they work to optimize around those. So look at your routine. Obviously, if you need help with this, reach out to me, because this is what I love to do. I love to look at the baseline things and see how we can work to put back a plan to get you where you want to be. So again, as always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. I know that's your greatest resource. I appreciate you spending some of that with me, and I will look forward to catching you on next week's video.